UFC 327 was last night. Absolutely insane card. Fun finishes, crazy comebacks, some good news as well throughout the entire card, which I thought was a fun ad that I'll also cover as well. But I'll go through fight by fight, tell you guys how well I did in my predictions. Spoiler alert, not that great. I think I went 6-5-1. So, I mean, damn near 50-50. I said in the breakdown it would be close. There was a lot of coin flip fights, and sometimes you're on, sometimes you're off. First fight, Charles Radke and Francisco Prado. Actually ended up getting this one. I think this is my only fully complete correct prediction. I had Radke by decision. He gets it done by decision. Like I said in the breakdown, Radke's a strong grappler. I thought Francisco Prado would maybe show a little bit more resistance, but that ended up not being the case. Francisco Prado had that Hail Mary guillotine in the third round that he almost had. Radke's tough. He fought out of it. And yeah, kind of just dominated to a decision. Had some moments in there. Radke's probably looking for a step up, and people are calling for Prado to get cut from the UFC. I wouldn't be devastated if they did. I do think he is good and young enough to keep him around for probably another fight, but yeah, he's running out of opportunities for sure. And the point deduction. Yes, I was looking at my notes for the last thing. The point deduction for the eye poke. That was a big thing in there too. Thank God we had actual UFC fans in the audience for this fight because they gave a very strong positive reaction when Keith Peterson took the point for the eye poke. And I think that's good for the entirety of the sport because that's the general fan base's actual reaction is good. They are taking points for fouling. So outside of that, not much in there. Fun fight regardless. And yeah, Radke gets it done by decision. The next fight, Kelvin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque. I was calling him Kevin. Kevin Gastelum in the entire breakdown. I don't know how I didn't catch that. It was even on the graphic wrong. But anyways, Kelvin Gastelum, I had him by decision. It actually ends up being a Vicente Luque round one submission. Overcomes some of the washed allegations, is able to sit Kelvin Gastelum down and then find the submission. I believe it was a Darce, but yeah, sat him down, jumped on him. Says he wants to stay at middleweight. Was standing next to a RoboCop, and it's like, oh man, maybe you shouldn't do that. But like I said, potentially beats some of the washed allegations. Kelvin Gastelum, how good of a win is in the big 2-6? I don't know, but regardless, good stuff from him. Definitely the weirdest one on the card in this one, Chris Padilla versus Markel Medeiros. I predicted Chris Padilla to win via third round knockout. Ends up being a draw. I know the graphic has Padilla via decision. That's actually because I was filling it out in real time. And then 3 fights later, they come back and say that despite Bruce Buffer spending 20 minutes at the judge's box and then coming into the octagon and reading the score to the official, and then all of that seemingly cleared, still reads the wrong decision for like the second time in 3 weeks somehow. I'm not sure how this is happening. Maybe it's the second time in 4 weeks, but he announces Chris Padilla via majority decision. I guess that's not what happened. Markel Medeiros does enough. I can see. I'm not as outraged now. So Markel Medeiros also gets a point deduction for an eye poke in this one in the third round. And I can see how people are upset that Chris Padilla didn't win. I think he definitely did enough to win, especially with the point deduction in round three. But in that second round, that's really the one that's been up for debate. I thought Chris Padilla did more. He was more active, threw more, landed more. Markel Medeiros he did do well landing those elbows, splitting the guard, and landing damaging shots that probably in hindsight looked more damaging. But the volume of Chris Padilla was tough to argue with. So yeah, tough there. It's a wash of a pick, Medea money line, and then the fight to go over 1.5 rounds. I was overly pretty confident in it, minus 425. That ends up hitting as well. The next fight on the card, Lupita Godinez versus Tatiana Suarez. I thought Lupita Godinez would get it done. I predicted Godinez to win by decision. And it actually ends up being Tatiana Suarez. Graphics wrong again. What the hell's going on? Tatiana Suarez submits Lupita Godinez in round two. Fight to go the distance at minus 450, I thought was maybe the biggest lock of the entire night. It wasn't. Tatiana Suarez is really, really good. Like, she is a big problem. I think if Zhang Weili's anticipated to come back down, Dana White said something about her being on the Macau card. I don't know if she's going to be at 115 or 125 what she's doing. But if she is staying out of 115, Tatiana Suarez is going to run that division because I think she handedly beats Mackenzie Dern. Lupita Godinez is good. Like she looked really good recently. Even like I said in the breakdown, she had competitive fights with the current champion Mackenzie Dern, and Tatiana Suarez ran through her. She's huge for the division. So statement win from her, good stuff. Wouldn't be mad if they gave her the next title shot and ran it against Mackenzie Dern. I think she'd probably win that one easily. So good stuff from her. Finds the finish. Under on significant strikes, yes, because Lupita Godinez actually, this is something I didn't mention. Lupita Godinez landed a clean right hand at the beginning of the fight and almost finished her like immediately. But Suarez was able to recover, and then Lupita Godinez just couldn't keep out of those clinch exchanges where she was just kind of getting bullied into bottom position and into overall bad spots because Suarez, like I said, is just huge for the division. Kind of bullied around Lupita Godinez and found the finish. Great performance from her. But the next fight, Matej Gamrot versus Esteban Ribovics. I had Gamrot via decision. He ends up winning by second round submission. The striking was actually, despite him winning by submission, the striking of Matej Gamrot looked greatly improved. Um, great stuff from him on the feet. He did not look nearly as hopeless against a skilled striker in Esteban Ribovics. I said this in the breakdown. They should have, or I hope I said this in breakdown. I didn't actually make sure it was in the correct cut. I might have cut it out, but Esteban Ribovics versus Dan Hooker would have been a great fight to make. I hope they still make that, and I hope they find a way to maybe do like a Argentinian card with like Kevin Vallejos and Eileen Perez and hell maybe even throw Francisco Prado on there as well. But I hope they can find a way to do that and make Esteban Ribovics versus Dane Hooker because they both just want to scrap. They're both super fun to watch. So that's what I would do with Esteban Ribovics. Unfortunate that that he wasn't able to get the win, but Matej Gamrot looks good, and was able to find a finish. So the grappling and if the striking keeps improving, like it looked on Saturday, you know, I don't think he's got a champion level ceiling, but he'll be a tough guy to beat, especially in the lightweight division. Calls out Diego Lopez after he wins. Not sure what that's all about. He was like saying Diego Lopez wants to move 155. Maybe I missed something, but that threw me off completely. Betting wise, Gamrot did win. I was pretty confident in him. So at minus 180, great value. And then the over on takedowns. Esteban Ribovics was able to scramble well and find himself back on his feet, but Gamrot ends up just dragging him down. So I'm almost positive the over on that hit as well. Kevin Holland versus Randy Brown. Had him winning by first round submission. He ends up getting it done via unanimous decision. Yeah, I thought we maybe had the submission aspect correct at least. Ends up not happening. He had a really tight Darce choke in the second round that Randy Brown fought out of. Showed great heart there, but then after that, Kevin Holland, I think, clearly won round one. The Darce choke thing happens in round two. Not sure how Randy Brown escaped, but then once he was able to escape, Kevin Holland was so gassed from trying to submit him, and Randy Brown was so gassed from defending himself that what was a super fun fight ends up just kind of being this really forgettable wash that happens in the third round where both guys are just kind of pinning each other up against the cage. But regardless, Kevin Holland's back. It's tough to put a lot of stock into his win into a Kevin Holland fight because he's so unreliable and unpredictable. But I did like the layoff that he was coming off of. I liked the fact that he was resting. UFC, give him an opponent, run back D-Rod, whatever you want to do. I mean, I think there's a good storyline there, so that could be fun. But let him recover. Do not, even no matter how much he asks, do not give him a fight that is anywhere near, the next two and a half, 3 months. Put him on ice, let him rest. He's clearly a better fighter when he has time to recover. And I think that's what we saw against Randy Brown. Good stuff from him. Holland money line at plus 110. I think he closes a favorite as well. I thought him via finish would be even better value. That's actually what I ended up betting on. And I ended up missing on that one because, like I said, Randy Brown was tough and he was able to find his way out. I could kind of tell once that had happened, once Kevin Holland had missed on the submission chance that it was probably just going to end up going the distance. So fight not to go the distance at minus 110 doesn't hit either. The last prelim of the card, I had Aaron Pico to win by second round TKO. He ends up getting it done by unanimous decision. This was a fun fight, but Patricio Pitbull has to have, I mean, his chin was forged by the demons in hell. I mean, I cannot comprehend how he was standing. Maybe it's just like the rotation and the sound that Aaron Pico gets out of all of his shots that he lands. But oh my gosh, this guy, if he did not get slimed out by Lerone Murphy the way he did, the way that I think people would be talking about him would be way different. He deserves a shot up in the rankings. Featherweight is so talented, though. It's just really tough. I mean, featherweight's really, really good. There's a lot of good fighters that aren't even in the rankings. I mean, Melquiz Alcasa is at the bottom of the rankings. He's fantastic. Kevin Vallejos. I mean, Luke Riley's outside of the rankings. There's tons of guys that are just really good. And then you have the whole top of the division that's established and that's actually, people know for sure that they're good. So he's in a stacked division, but he definitely made a case to be one of the top guys. He looked great, boxing super clean, wrestling looked great. Just kind of victimized Patricio Pitbull. One judge gave Patricio Pitbull round 3. I didn't see that. I thought Aaron Pico clearly took care of business. 30-27. I had Pico money line at minus 325. It was the biggest favor on the card. Gets it done, and then Pitbull under on takedowns. Doesn't get any. At least I don't think. Maybe I'll have to rewatch the fight, but I don't think he got any. Pico stuffed pretty much everything and just kind of controlled all 15 minutes of this one. Cub Swanson and Nate Landwehr actually ends up being a really fun one. I had Swanson via round 3 TKO. He ends up getting it done by round 1 TKO. For Cub Swanson, great performance. Good for you. You go out on a winning streak. Looked great. The accuracy looked like it was still there. The power clearly looked like it was still there. So good stuff from him. He's able to retire after the fight, has his family in the octagon. Really cool moment. For Nate Landwehr, I don't know if you've ever been in a fist fight before, homie, but typically you try and harm your opponent. Typically you try and throw punches, do damage, move around the octagon. I mean, he couldn't have been any slower if he was standing still. Terrible performance from him. Wouldn't be surprised if he got cut after this fight, but the fight ended in a KO, ends up cashing out at plus 105. Decent call on my part. I definitely thought one of them was going to go down. Cub Swanson looked, like I said, looked just head and shoulders way better than Nate Landwehr in this one. Is able to find the finish. Wasn't super confident about picking a winner in this one, but maybe I should have been because the fights that I were super confident about ended up not playing out how I thought they would. But the next fight on the card, Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker. Won't spend too much time here. I had Dominic Reyes via round 1 KO. He ends up getting it done by unanimous decision. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one. Reyes money line and the fight to go the distance were the two bets that I chose. I should have just stuck with my gut in Reyes via unanimous decision because that would have, or not unanimous because it was split. That would have paid out really well. Don't want to say I told you so, but I will because there's not a whole lot of times I can say this throughout the card. I think, Dominic Reyes and Johnny Walker both look super conservative in their last few fights, and neither of them were able to enter distance or enter range and were willing to exchange. Dominic Reyes said in the post-fight interview, he's like, man, I don't know why the people were booing. Like, people don't understand how dangerous it is. It's like, yeah, we understand how dangerous it is. I think we are expecting you to also understand how dangerous it is and be willing to engage in that danger. Neither of them did anything throughout this fight. Really slowed down the momentum of the card. But, Dominic Reyes, Johnny Walker, I think because everyone was expecting this big knockout on one end, and then it ends up being not only like not a knockout, but one of the worst fights in recent memory. Bad stuff from either of them. Neither of them, in my opinion, should get a shot up in the rankings. Have both of them fight down, but I guess this is the one time I can say I told you so throughout the entire card. Yeah, this is not one of those moments where I can say I told you so at all. I was way off. I actually ranted about Josh Hokett even being in this fight in the first place. Proves me wrong big time. I had Blades via round 2 TKO, and Hokett ends up getting it done via unanimous decision. Now, I said in the breakdown that Curtis Blades would drag the fight where Josh Hokett doesn't want it to go, and it ends up being, I don't want to say the exact opposite, because Hokett was definitely gassed as well. But Curtis Blades is able to survive. He eats the first, wave from Josh Hokett, takes the first round handily, in my opinion. And then in that second round and third round was significantly slowed down, wasn't able to do enough, wasn't able to cause enough damage, because I do think Curtis Blades did do enough in that second round to potentially win the fight. But if you just look at the damage and especially how that third round played out, Hokett winning just kind of made more sense, I guess you can say. I was surprised that not a single judge gave the fight to Curtis Blades. He did outland Josh Hokett in the second round, but when you wear so much damage and you have the body language that Curtis had at the end of round 3, it's tough to give him that one. I mean, people are seemingly forgetting that Curtis Blades knocked out the mouthpiece of Josh Hokett and kind of teed off in that last 30 seconds of the second round as well. So Blades definitely had his moments and did not look terrible. Lit up the card for sure. Great moments in there, but Josh Hogan gets it done. I had the fight to go over 1.5 rounds. It happens. If you would have told me, 24 hours ago, hey, the fight's going to go over 1.5 rounds. The fight's going to enter the third round. We're going to be going all 15 minutes. I would have put everything I had on Curtis Blades, but Josh Hogan proves a lot of people wrong. And how exciting is that? Heavyweight has athletes. I mean, super cool. And we'll get to the announcements and stuff. I'll talk about that at the end too. So Josh Hogan gets it done. Good win from him. Asmat Mirzakhanov and Paulo Costa. I had Asmat Mirzakhanov winning by round 1 KO. And Paulo Costa wins by round 3 KO. Super, super happy about this. I do not care if I was wrong. I don't even care if I was wrong about the split thing. Now, I think I probably would have been. I mean, I think I was in the right headspace, and I think I technically kind of was correct. Asmat Mirzakhanov, I think he broke his forearm from one of those high kicks that was constant. I mean, Paulo Costa's body kicks and high kicks throughout this entire fight were the difference for sure. Asmat Mirzakhanov has to constantly, I shouldn't be doing that with the mic, constantly has to raise his forearm to try and block, and I think he ends up breaking his forearm from doing so. Paulo Costa looks, I don't want to say looks great, because it was a good win. I would have liked to see him not look as gassed throughout the entire fight, but especially in round 2 when it looked like he was really running out of steam. But round 3 comes out refreshed and is able to find the finish. I said that the fight would either be Asmat Mirzakhanov early or Paulo would cruise to a decision, just outclass him. That's how the fight was heading, and then I think Asmat Mirzakhanov definitely broke something in his arm. That leads to the KO happening. I think Paulo Costa would have gone to a 29-28 decision win if that didn't happen. But yeah, once Paulo Costa was able to kind of eat that first exchange and feel that power, and I don't want to say wear Asmat down, because I think he did wear him down, but earlier in the fight, in the later portion of the first round and in the second round, when there was that first wild exchange and Paulo Costa was able to go, all right, we're good. Because he was very conservative at the beginning of the fight. He did not want to get clipped by that check left. He didn't want to get clipped by the check left, because that's all he was waiting to do. So Paulo Costa didn't want to run into that. Not that there's any foreshadowing in there. I'm just saying. Regardless, Paulo Costa, I don't even remember what the hell I was saying. Sorry, got caught off guard. He was able to feel the power of Asmat Mirzakhanov and just kind of go, all right. He was able to settle in, I guess you can say, and then just outclass him from there. Finds a finish in round 3. Not sure what his career trajectory at this point looks like. He's only really fighting once a year. I'm cool with it. He looks back to vintage form. He looked huge at 205. He's fun. He's back to being fun is the most important thing. He's a great personality. He's great for the UFC. I was super happy that he was able to get it done. Don't care if I was wrong at all. At all. That was the one fight I was hoping I was wrong about, and I was. So good stuff from him. And yeah, was wrong on both the bets, but I don't care. Yuri Prochazka, Carlos Orberg, the main event. I had Yuri Prochazka via round 4 TKO. Carlos Ulberg ends up getting it done in round 1. Blows out his ACL. Yuri Prochazka, no matter what anyone says, Yuri Prochazka was telling the truth, notices the injury, and completely changes how he was fighting that fight. Completely. Starts pointing, yelling, doing the most random thing. Look, I mean, I guess this comes with the nature of Yuri Prohashka, but I mean, I really don't. I don't get it, man. I don't get it at all. I'm not even upset that I bet on Yuri. I'm just like, everything aside, what the hell was that? Yuri Prohashka walked straight into the check left, the only possible thing that could have lost him the fight. And for Yuri, I'm actually cool if you want to like not attack the injured leg, if you want to dance around, like if you don't want to tee off on him. I'm cool. I'm cool with that. We didn't need like we don't want to see somebody that's clearly injured just get beat up on. Like you can have the mercy in that way. But to completely change the way you're fighting, point at the ground, become reckless, all I mean, in a title fight, like this isn't Jamal Hill. What are we doing? Ugh, walks straight into the check left, gets finished. If the fight just goes, if Carl Sobel just goes to his corner, the fight is over. Like the corner is going to call it Yuri. That's the mercy. That's it. You don't need to alter the fight. Like I don't know if he was trying to. It almost appeared to me like Yuri was still just trying to give him a chance and just wanted to stand and bang it out. But at the same time, then it was like Yuri still didn't want to enter range. It was just so the whole that maybe the weirdest 4 minutes in that I've ever seen in MMA for Carlos Ulberg. Cool. I mean, I'm not gonna hate. He's entertaining. He's a kickboxer. It's fun stuff. Yes, he beat a fan favorite in Yuri, one of my favorites. Okay, regardless, that is a great win. Yuri is an incredible win. Yuri beats everybody really in the division, has proven that he can beat everybody in the division. But now we're left with a really bad situation where Carlos Ulberg is likely out for like 12, 15 maybe months. That's a long time for there to be no movement in light heavyweight. And I guess it's okay because there's nobody that's really primed for that other than Ankalaev. My bet is that they're going to have to do a interim title fight probably in 8 months from now to then set up 8 months after that a title fight so that Carl Solberg can get back. But now it's in a weird spot where it's like, are they going to have Yuri do an interim fight against Ankalaev? Like, there's nobody else really in light heavyweight. That's why Yuri was supposed to win. Oh my god. I'm really distraught over this, you guys. I don't understand how this happens. We got to get out of this breakdown of this fight. Honestly, I've been struggling to break down the entire card because of this shit. I don't understand how Yuri loses, but he does. He gets finished for him. Probably gets an interim fight against um, Ankalaev, I guess. I don't know. Maybe. Probably not. I don't even know if he really deserves it at this point. But Olberg's on ice for another 15 months. When he comes back, it should be fun. It'll be a fun story to see how it plays out, especially if there ends up being a rematch of this. But great win for Olberg. I'm happy for him. Good stuff. To recap the best bets, too much red. Not happy at all with how this played out. I ended up really not even breaking even on this card personally. It was not a great night at all for Kobe. The Yuri fight really put a wrench in things. I mean, that was the Yuri had a. I mean, we had a shot with Yuri, but bad stuff overall. High value straights actually ended up hitting two. Kevin Holland money line, and then Walker Reyes fight to go the distance. The Walker Reyes fight to go the distance was, I think, maybe the first like actual high value straight that's ended up hitting so far. I've hit some in the past, but I think this was the first one that I actually had on a video that ended up hitting. Parlay legs, I had Swanson and Landwehr to end in a KO. Confident in that. Pico, Gamrot money line. Padilla money line's a wash. And then really where everything just crumbled was Blades and Prohashka. Neither of them hit. But, I guess it happens sometimes. Sometimes just off. Was not confident in Nate Landwehr and Dominic Reyes. They end up getting it done. So, sometimes it just doesn't fall your way. I think last night was not my night for sure. I mean, I got plenty of fights correct, 6 of them that I got correct. Would have never bet on Azmat Mirzakhanov in any way, shape, or form. So I think I dodged a bullet there. Probably could have emotionally bet on Paulo Costa, but I was trying to be smart with it. Probably, ended up missing out on some money there. But Pico, Gamrot, good stuff from them. Swanson Landwehr, good. I think it was a smart pick on my part, but Prohashka and Blades crumpled everything. They ruined everything. So to recap the total picks, overall I went nine. Overall I'm at 91 and 41. Numbered events 32 and 12. That's not great. It's looking worse and worse. Main events, two in a row, I believe now. So get those two wrong. But I did want to comment on what happened throughout the card, because I think this is what should be happening for every single numbered event, because we're only getting so many of them throughout the year. So what's going to distinguish a really fun fight like last week, a really fun fight night in Joe Pyfer and Israel Adesanya? Am I tweaking? Yes, I am. Duncan versus Moicano was last week. Still a fun card, but 2 weeks ago, in Izzy and Joe Pyfer, a super fun card in front of a crowd. What's going to really distinguish that between a card like UFC 327 in Miami? I think the announcements and everything that went into tonight, announcing that Gable Steveson was signed to the UFC, which is huge. Announcing that he's debuting at 329 is huge. Announcing the Josh Hokett versus Derek Lewis fight at the White House. That's so much fun. And so, regardless, yes, it helped that the fights were entertaining. Regardless of if the fights were entertaining, that really, in my opinion, just added to the overall value of what a numbered event should be. Fun fights, but an advancement of the UFC overall. I think things like that give so much excitement to the actual fan base. And even somebody that's kind of a casual fan now knows that Gable Steveson is debuting at UFC 329. They're going to look up, who is this? Why is this even important? And now one of the best heavyweight prospects is finally signed to the UFC. I don't know if they'll give him a ranked. I don't know. I don't know what their plan, the UFC's plan is with Gable Steveson. I'll hopefully try and make a video about that, because I was working on a prospect video right now. But yeah, like I said, the announcements and the excitement of everything together just made a big difference throughout this entire card. And I hope that's something that we continue to see throughout all these numbered events, because it's fun. I hope during 328, that we get an announcement that Connor's back. Or even if it's not Connor, it's just, Islam and Ian Gary for 329, like something. I hope we get something along those lines. And it's not that you have to announce big fights at the numbered events. Give us something. Like Gable Steveson signing was awesome news. Like, that's exciting stuff. And so I'm super glad that that is how it ended up playing out. My lights are cutting off. So I'll wrap it up. Thank you guys for watching. Um, Stick with me. I know it was a rough night overall, but had fun watching the card. Hope you guys did too. Let me know if you guys listened to me and lost money, or if you didn't and you made money. I'll get a video out. I'm making a commitment. I'm getting a video out that's not a breakdown or a recap. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.